You mentioned post-game that you're pretty torn. It was another close result, but you showed great improvement, but you still lost. How are you feeling a couple of days on?
Oh yeah, we're disappointed, but they're still optimistic about the footy that we played. I mean, and clearly there's a correlation now. We've allowed 5 or 6 goal starts to the opposition, and then certainly on the weekend, I thought we outplayed Carlton for 3 or 4 quarters, but clearly we were badly outplayed in the first quarter. So that's a disappointing part of it. But we're still really optimistic about what we're building. But I've said repeatedly, it's not at the expense of what we're doing right at the moment. So we went up to Brisbane to win. We certainly went into the King's Birthday Eve game with a plan to get the job done, and we didn't execute to the level that we were after. So we'll keep working on that. But clearly for all our fans, you can hopefully they can see these young players coming through and doing their best to execute a system while being relatively inexperienced.
How do you fix the first quarter stuff? Like, how do you get away quicker?
Yeah, look, I think it's more. If you look at the first quarter and you think of starts, you think at the start of the game, the first 10 minutes of the games have been okay. It's probably just lapses in certain areas and a few costly turnovers but if you look at 125 minutes of footy, it's only really 10-minute periods. I think the time will tell whether it's a coincidence or a trend, but it just happens to be 2 weeks in a row where we've had 10-minute periods where we've been heavily scored against, and 10 minutes out of 125.
Durham, so is it a big out? Was there any question to challenge the ban, or?
No, not really. I mean, I probably have a fairly good understanding of how the system works. We didn't think we had a case. I mean, the reality is there was high contact made, and Sam, to the letter of the law, had an alternative. So we just take the punishment and move on. But we'll continue to work with our players on the technique there, and we think Sam's a go at the ball type player, and really he's got an elite reaction time, and he really felt that he had a play on the ball to contest the ball, and talking to Sam, he felt that the Chera was going to contest the ball in the same manner, and so the technique side I think is really important, and so we'll just keep coaching our players to contest the ball with really good technique.
You talked a bit of harsh criticism, like it's a pretty tough game to play, especially things happening so quick.
Yeah, I think, look, I understand we don't want to see players get hurt, and we certainly, the potential for injury to Chera was there, and so we're concerned about that. I think that the challenge for players who are trying to contest the ball, if they're a fraction of a second late, it looks like a bump. Sam's intention was never to bump. His intention was to contest the ball. Chera was there a fraction of a second earlier. It's very easy to say, well, you could have tackled, but he's a contested ball type player. So we understand the penalty. We accept it. We'll just focus on what we can, which is coaching our players to contest the ball with really good technique.
On a positive, 8th debutant on the weekend. It must be. Is it exciting, like as a senior coach, to tell someone you're playing an AFL game and you've done 8 times this year?
Yeah, it is. It's one of the best part of the job. One of the things I like about coaching more than any other is watching players grow and develop and improve, and then getting reward for that improvement. And we've been really happy with our VFL program this year, and I think our development coaches are doing an exceptional job. Our assistant coaches are doing an exceptional job on preparing these young men to play AFL footy, and they haven't let themselves down. I think they've acquitted themselves really well, and it's ideally we'd like to have better availability, obviously, but the silver lining is we get to expose these players to AFL footy, and all 8 of them have looked like they're capable AFL players.
Is it fair to say you weren't expecting 8 though this year?
No, I don't think anyone does. But I don't think we're finished yet either. So we've got some. It's a really interesting sort of conundrum. Our injuries are to similar types of players, but we've got other players in the VFL that we think are knocking on the door of selection. So whether that's this week or next or later in the season, but I suspect there'll be more to come.
just on the injury front, is there anyone a chance returning this weekend, or is it sort of?
No, not the sort of medium to long termers. Most of them are around. Some maybe a chance for next week, but more likely post bye. We're probably in a position where we have to err on the side of caution with return to play.
What do you make of Geelong last couple of weeks? What do you think?
Oh, they're a really capable side. I mean, they've got stars in every line. They're really well organised. They have been for a decade or more. So the challenge for us is significant, but that's why we play. We want to be able to compete against the best and ultimately beat the best, and we'll do our best to execute that this weekend.
You yet to beat your brother while you've been here at Essendon. Does it spur you on a little bit more than any other team? Or?
No, it's not something I think about in the slightest. I mean, I've probably had that question a few times over the 10 or 15 years, and I mean, I'm coaching against the opposition players rather than the opposition coach. And that's certainly the way I approach it every week. But no, we're focused on some pretty good Geelong players. But there's no question they're exceptionally well organised, and they play a system that has been very well drilled over a long period of time. And it's no surprise, or there are no secrets why they've been so good for so long. They just have an enviable culture, and they've built an enviable system down there. So it's something that we aspire to.
When you see the team list from Geelong on Thursday night, do you reckon that's how they'll go in and play on Saturday, or do you reckon Chris makes a late change?
Oh no, I think they'll pick their side like we do. I mean, we can rule someone out 3 days before a game, or we can pick a squad and give them right up to the last minute. So that's what the AFL forces us to do. I mean, if you said you didn't have to name your team until an hour before the game, then you'd find there are a lot less changes.
Absolutely. Big crowd though. This the country game. Are you expecting a big crowd? Hoping for a big crowd?
Yeah, I think there will be. It's always reluctant to call the weather forecast in Melbourne at this time of year, a few days out, but that does look optimistic. MCG, great time slot, and we love all the Bombers fans to get out and watch the future of our club, and we're planning to go out and give a really good account of ourselves, and I think it's really exciting what we're watching at the moment as a coaching group and as a playing group, where while disappointed bitterly about not getting the result the last 2 weeks, there's a great feeling and energy around the club, and youthful exuberance brings that energy.